A single mother invented the influencer in 1948, building an empire on parties and plastic. Then the company erased her, and 70 years later, it erased itself. By a man who wouldn't even do it in person. She had made his plastic bowls a household name across the country. She had become the first woman ever to appear on the cover of a national business magazine. His final order? Erasure. 66 years later, the company files for bankruptcy, owing more than $1 billion. Those two moments are connected, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how. Before her story begins, like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell. It helps more people hear stories like hers. And comment below, does your family still own Tupperware older than you are? Earl Tupper was not a businessman. He was an obsessive, a Massachusetts tree surgeon who filled notebooks with inventions. A fish-powered boat, a no-drip ice cream cone. Most of his ideas went nowhere. And in 1936, his tree surgery business collapsed into bankruptcy, leaving him broke at 29. Then he took a job at a DuPont plastics plant in Leominster, Massachusetts. He lasted about a year, but it was long enough to fall in love with a strange, new material coming out of the labs. Years later, after the war, DuPont handed him a hunk of its industrial garbage, a black, greasy slag of polyethylene, hard as a hockey puck, that no one could mold. Everyone saw waste. Tupper saw the future. He spent months purifying that slag into something no one had ever held before, a plastic that was light, flexible, and nearly unbreakable. He called the material poly-T. In 1946, his first bowls reached the stores, the Wonderlier bowl and a matching tumbler. And then he stole his best idea from a paint can. Flip the lid inside out, press down, and the air escapes with a soft burp. An airtight seal, right there in your kitchen. In 1946, with small refrigerators and rare freezers, that was close to a miracle. But on a store shelf, the Wonderlier was just another bowl. And the one thing that made it magic was the one thing a shelf couldn't do. Nobody walks into a store for a miracle. Somebody has to show you. Shoppers couldn't work the seal. Clerks couldn't explain it. Sales flatlined. Earl Tupper had invented a perfect product that could not sell itself. But in Detroit, his sales reports showed something impossible. One distributor was moving more Tupperware than entire department store chains. Her name was Brownie Wise, and she was about to teach American business a lesson it still hasn't finished learning. Brownie Wise was a divorced single mother from Beaufort, Georgia, raising her son Jerry alone and selling household goods door to door to make ends meet. No business degree, no capital. What she had was the one insight Earl Tupper would never have. The bowl was not the product. The demonstration was the product. Get women into a living room. Coffee, games, gossip. Then the burp. In a room full of neighbors, that little sigh of air got gasps. Then orders. A stranger's shelf asks for your money. A friend's living room has your trust. She sold Tupperware by the truckload without a single store. By 1951, Tupper couldn't ignore her math. At her own suggestion, he made the most radical bet in retail history. He pulled Tupperware out of every store in America. Nos chops, nos chips. If you wanted the bowl, you went to the party. And the party went everywhere because Wise wasn't recruiting salesmen. She was recruiting 1950s housewives and making them dealers. In an era when a married woman often couldn't get her own line of credit without her husband's signature, at the party, she wasn't the help. She was the dealer, her calendar, her commissions, her money. Tupperware wasn't selling bowls to these women. It was selling them a career that polite society couldn't object to. Wise built these women into an army and treated them like royalty. Every year, thousands made a pilgrimage to Florida for Jubilee, part sales conference, part revival meeting. At the first Jubilee, they handed the top dealers shovels and sent them digging in the ground for buried treasure. Mink stoles, diamond rings, gold watches, even cars. Her creed hung over all of it. You build the people, and they'll build the business. And the press couldn't get enough of her. In 1954, Business Week put her on its cover, the first woman ever. By 1954, sales passed $25 million a year. The system printed money. The press printed her face. The empire had two founders, and the one whose name was on every box was beginning to hate the one whose face was on every cover. Earl Tupper was everything Brownie Wise wasn't. Reclusive, paranoid, allergic to attention. While she granted wishes on stage, he counted what the spectacle cost. When reporters called the company, they asked for her, not him. When people said Tupperware, they pictured her. He bristled at the lavish jubilees, and at the company mansion it had bought and furnished for her. And in January 1958, he had her fired. She wasn't in the room. She owned no stock. Even the house and the furniture belonged to the company. She sued for $1.6 million. She settled for about $30,000, roughly 1 year's salary. Then came the order that tells you everything. Remove her from the company's history. Her name vanished from the sales manuals, and Tupperware's own staff buried thousands of unsold copies of her book in a pit behind the headquarters. Months later, Earl Tupper sold the company to the Rexall Drug Company for about $16 million. He divorced his wife, gave up his American citizenship to deduct the taxes, and bought his own island off the coast of Panama. Here's the strange part. The firing changed nothing. Not for decades. The machine Wise built was so good it ran without her. This is direct sales, selling person to person through independent dealers, with no stores in between. Her version conquered the world. Tupperware boasted that somewhere on Earth, a new party started every few seconds. Japan, Germany, Mexico, wherever there were kitchens and neighbors, the party worked. And that global triumph hit a fact nobody wanted to see. Tupperware still only knew one way to sell anything. For the next 40 years, the machine worked perfectly. That was the problem. Because here's the part almost nobody talks about. Tupperware didn't start dying in 2024. It started dying around 1980 and hid it for 40 years. The party needed one ingredient more than plastic: a woman at home in the afternoon, with neighbors free to visit. So when American women went to work, and by the mid-'80s, well over half of them, the guest list. The dealers aged. The parties thinned. U.S. sales stalled. But headquarters found a painkiller instead of a cure. Export the 1950s. Indonesia, Mexico, India, young economies full of ambitious women locked out of formal jobs. The party thrived all over again. By 2012, Indonesia had passed Germany to become Tupperware's single biggest market on Earth. And in 2013, the stock hit its all-time high, $96 a share, on record revenue of nearly $2.7 billion. The chart said healthy. The chart was lying. Because while Tupperware toured the past, selling moved twice without it. First, to the shelf. Rivals filled every supermarket with cheaper copies, while Tupperware, by its own rules, wasn't even in the building. Remember, nobody walks into a store for a miracle. By now, nobody needed the miracle explained. They just grabbed the copy that was right there. Then selling moved again to the screen. And Tupperware missed that too. It didn't even open an online store until 2022. And its own masterpiece worked against it. The stuff never broke. Your grandmother's bowls still seal today. The perfect product had quietly abolished its own repeat customer. One by one, the emerging markets modernized, women went to work, and the same traps sprang in every country, just on a delay. The pandemic gave one last sugar rush. Everyone home, everyone cooking, and then the cliff. In 2022, Tupperware did the once unthinkable and put its products on store shelves at Target. Its biggest return to retail since it walked away in 1951, 70 years too late, and buried under more than $800 million of debt. In 2023, its own accountants warned there was substantial doubt it could survive. And on September 17, 2024, Tupperware Brands filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Delaware. Its lenders bought the name for scraps. By 2025, the original company was liquidated, dissolved, struck from the register. The last to know were the ones who built it. More than 460,000 sellers across nearly 70 countries. Garage is full of inventory. Downlines full of friends, reading the news on their phones. The company born in a living room died by email. The obituaries blamed cheap plastic and a pandemic. The obituaries were wrong. So what actually killed Tupperware? Not competitors. It outlived 60 years of copies. Not the pandemic. Sales went up in lockdown. Tupperware died because it could only sell one way, and the way died first. Look at your phone. A trusted, charismatic person demonstrate a product to an audience of people who feel like friends. The gasp. The orders. That's not a new invention. That is a Tupperware party. Brownie Wise wrote the Influencer Playbook in 1951. Social media just removed the living room. Her invention conquered the internet. The company she built for it wasn't invited. They erased her name in 1958. Historians eventually carved it back. Her papers sit in the Smithsonian today. The company that did the erasing no longer exists. And tonight, somewhere in your kitchen, a 30-year-old bowl will still burn. The product never failed. The way of selling it did. And companies rarely die because the product stops working. They die because the world stops buying the way they sell. But Tupperware wasn't the only living room empire to fall in 2024. Just weeks earlier, the company that practically invented door-to-door selling filed for bankruptcy too. 138 years old, with millions of representatives and a name your grandmother trusted. Tupperware erased its own founder and somehow survived 70 years. Kodak buried its own future and did not. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, comment below, and watch Kodak fall next.